I am Marcus James Dixon with Gold Derby, and we are here with Stephan Fleet, Visual Effects Supervisor on Amazon Prime Video's The Boys. And Stephan, when you look back at season 3 as a whole, is there one moment or one scene that you're most proud of? Something that you think, I can't believe we pulled that off.
You mean other than the guy shrinking down and crawling into another man's penis?
That was a good one.
I would say that one takes that one sticks out in my mind. And then second to that would be the deep eating Timothy the octopus. Those two are neck and neck for me.
It's a tie.
Yeah.
And you joined the show back in season 1. And at the time, how much did you know about the comic book source material before you signed on?
First off, I have to shout out to your really cute cat right behind you. I love
He
cats.
likes her camera time.
I love cats. No, I when I was in college was a big fan of Ennis Robertson work, and I'd read all of Preacher and some of The Boys. And I then heard, before I even knew Seth and Evan and Eric were involved in the project, I'd heard that they might be making The Boys, and I'm just such a fan of I was a fan of what I'd read before. Then I went back and I read all of it before I even had the opportunity to interview for the show. So I was familiar with the work.
Gotcha.
Quite an early stage, yeah.
And you did receive an Emmy nomination for Best Visual Effects for the show.
I did.
What do you remember most about that ceremony and that whole experience?
Starving. It was the COVID era creative arts Emmys. It's just such a crazy time in the world. Excuse me. And for safety protocols, and we didn't know this going in, there was no food, just some water. So we were all sitting there just like excited to, hear if we won or not, but also equally excited for dinner afterwards.
Well, backstage for the press people, we have little sandwiches. So next, if you go again, elbow me and I'll let you in backstage and get you.
Yeah. Hopefully it's better now. It was the first time to commend the Academy, they figured out a way to put on the event during sort of like the crux of the COVID crisis. So it was understandable, but just that's what I remember.
And continuing the awards focus, you were nominated this year at the Visual Effects Society for the season 3 premiere called Payback. And what is it about that episode you think clicked with those guild voters? Was it the shrinking?
I mean, not to circle back to a certain scene, but look, I think all joking aside, we get to do some unprecedented stuff. Like the way we use visual effects in the show isn't necessarily the way I've used visual effects in other shows, or maybe it's used in more common ways in other product. Let's put it that way. Not to say that there isn't a lot of amazing work out there, but we definitely get to do some unique storytelling through the methodologies of visual effects. And that scene, I think, was an outlier. Plus, again, just like all of the different types of stuff we do, from lasering eyes to recreating sort of a Zack Snyder nod to Zack Snyder's work. So just like kind of maybe the plethora or the array of stuff we do, but I still think it's that scene, to be perfectly honest. And it was innovative in a lot of different ways.
And it was one of the first scenes of the season too, so it really sticks with you. If you're a voter and you only watch that one episode, you're gonna be hooked right away.
Yeah, what I tell anyone who hasn't seen The Boys yet is just go watch the first 15 minutes of season 3. I'm like, it doesn't really spoil the show because it's kind of our James Bond opening for the season. It just kind of outlines the height of what we do. So.
And one of the big things in season 3 was the introduction of Soldier Boy, the new character with tons of superpowers, played by Jensen Ackles. What was the biggest challenge for that character from the visual effects team's perspective? I'm sure you had a ton of interviews, or not interviews, but a ton of meetings with each other and with the writers.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that Jensen Ackles, not only is he, an incredibly talented actor, but he's just so darn nice, it's annoying. Like, he's just such a good guy to work with. He made the whole experience very pleasant. It was tracking the evolution of the powers throughout the season, because this is someone who got these powers in a different way through some kind of Russian experimentation over the years. I mean, he had his powers before of just being sort of strong Captain America style. But now he's got this crazy, like, I hear Russian music or I get angry and, you know, I start roasting people power. So it was that, and then it was finding like some cool beats to set it up and like complement his emotion. So like you'll notice in the first couple episodes we cut to like his feet and we saw like little pebbles crawling inwards and stuff. It's all these sort of details we came up with to like evolve it over the course of the season, so that by the end of it, he essentially is like a small nuclear bomb going off.
Mm. And there's a character on the show who can explode heads, Congresswoman Newman.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like how much, when there's a head explosion, how much is a real prosthetic, if anything, and how much is the visual effects?
Yeah, I would say it's like, depending on the shot, it can be anywhere from 100% visual effects to like a solid 80-20 visual effects, special effects. My special effects friends definitely do, when we have the opportunity on set, we do set up what we call a blood lollipop, which is like a stick with a blood bag on it with an explosive in it, and they'll go and we'll like measure it to like right where the head is and all that stuff. And so yeah, so we do a little bit more practical, and we've also had our at certain times we've had our prosthetics team build dummies with like meat necklaces and stuff. So like that's kind of sitting there slumped over. It's a real piece that we maybe augment the neck a little bit or something like that. So it can be a blend for sure. We're big on working together as teams and maybe finding not necessarily the quote unquote easiest way to do it, but what we think might be the best and most grounded way to do it.
I've done a lot of interviews. I've never heard Blood Lollipop before. So that's the first time.
Well, it's either a punk rock band from the 80s or, you know, our show, one of the two. But no, yeah, we literally will call them the Blood Lollipop. We call the meat thing around here the meat necklace. We've got all these shorthand terms we've created over the years. So like we'll be in prep and I'll just say, like Hudson, our special effects captain, he'll come up to me and be like, "You need a blood lollipop?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, we need a blood lollipop." All right, cool. And we'll move on with our lives.
This season, a few of the human characters got to become superheroes by taking a variant of Compound V called V24. And Huey in particular, he could all of a sudden teleport from one place to another. What was the secret of making that look so real?
Thank you. I think two things. One, it was always scripted from the beginning that his clothes would come off, which I thought was a really nice, funny touch, and something a little bit unique. Again, a little spin in our world of how something like this might happen. And I weirdly think by having the clothes come off, it answers most of the realism right there. And then the other interesting thing is that Jack Quaid, who plays Huey, came up to me and my team early on. We've been, you know, working together for a while now on the show. He was very excited to have powers and really wanted to collaborate and understand what the powers were. So we worked together with him. We showed him some test shots, like some concept art we'd made, some concept video, stuff like that. And he really helped sort of design the movement of it. And so he, I think, understood what was happening in his head when he was doing it, the way he jumps in and jumps out of it. So it's always good to have a collaboration with the talent when you're going to be doing something to their physicality, for a variety of reasons. One, to make the product more real and better, and two, we're sort of holding their image in our department, and we want to make sure we honor and respect them. So I think that his collaboration was really, really important.
Is there another actor that you could talk about in terms of collaboration?
Honestly, all of them.
There's so many.
Yeah. I mean, what I just said, I sort of learned. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, but I think I took it to a next level personally on this show, which is to not be shy with the talent as a visual effects supervisor and really work with them and show them and you know, give them an understanding of what you're trying to do, and also listen to them when they have ideas for their characters and work together on it. Because at the end of the day, again, we're just like a costume affects an image or makeup affects an image, and they have a contribution and a say in that. So does visual effects, and in some cases, in major ways, lasers out of the eyes, the way you fly. So I'm happy to say we have such a really wonderful cast, and I've developed great relationships with all of them, honestly, and we've all had conversations at one point or another, and it's really good, and it's really I think important to earn someone's trust in my position, or to earn a crew and a cast's trust, so that when I'm on set, if they do feel like they have a question about something they're doing, if they are acting opposite a tennis ball and they don't know what that tennis ball is, they can come to me and we can, you know, sort it out or have some visual aids or something like that. So yeah, it's a great crew.
And how much of your job would you say is on the set as opposed to like in a studio working?
Yeah, there are people in my position that, hold on a second, let me start that over. There are people in my position that maybe don't go to set as much. I have trouble letting go of that. I'm a sort of on the ground filmmakery type. I really like to be there as much as possible. So any big sequence to this date on The Boys, I would have been on set, I would say 99.8% of the time, unless there was some scheduling conflict that prevented it. So I'm heavily involved in prep. I'm up in Toronto usually for the entire duration of the shoot. I'm prepping episodes, I'm on set filming episodes, I'm doing second unit visual effects stuff for episodes. And then when we finish, I shift my focus to post-production. We do overlap a bit, but now, you know, I would be 100% in post-production for a while at a certain point.
The Hero-gasm episode is one that fans had been waiting for years. And I talked to the costume designer, and he said he created 30 brand new, you know, orgy-centered super suits for that
Sure.
episode. Yeah. What was it like from the visual effects team's perspective of those sequences?
You know, it's there's always this thing that happens whenever you have sequences with like lots of different superpowers where, yeah, it's scripted, but it's also at the point where I think I have a good relationship with the writing team as well and with Eric. And a lot of times they'll put something in there. And I don't know if they wrote this exactly for this episode, but it'll be like, they do cool stuff. And then Fleet will figure out what a bunch of it is, or like, we'll figure it out, you know. So we end up having these meetings where a bunch of us sit around tables and we have to pitch what these powers are, which is disturbing in this like instance. So we had one of those meetings, and then even into post, you start looking at things going, oh, maybe we could do some glowing eyes over there, or maybe we can add a flying vibrator over here. You know, you just start like adding more and more to it. So it was actually quite a long process. We probably had about 60% of it figured out during production, but we left a window open to add another 40% in post of adding these powers. So like the guy with the mind power, one that I planned out from the beginning was the sort of forming of this ice dildo. I had just seen the Mortal Kombat movie, and I'm a big Mortal Kombat gaming fan, so I thought it'd be really funny to like, you know, to do a riff our version of Sub-Zero. So, you know, and then other ideas sort of came up in post, like the flying vibrator, you know.
The season 3 finale, it was so epic. I love the fight scene at Vought. It went on forever. So many visual effects. We have starlight floating through the air, and other characters are smashing through the walls of the building. What would you say was one or two of the biggest challenges of that finale sequence?
I mean, the biggest challenge with that one was like more of like a technical logistics thing. John Koyama, who's our stunt coordinator, does an amazing job of designing the fights. So there's no question when you get to the fight what you're doing. He has it all planned out to a T. But we, you know, like any TV show, we shoot on certain sets. We have certain limitations. You have to use stunt people for certain things. You have to use wires. You have to use this, that, the other. So putting it all together with that many people and really figuring out how it was going to work just was very long and involved. Took a long time to do. It led us into something that I try not to do a lot on this show, which is a lot of blue screen work. Once they jump out the window, I actually did pitch at one point trying to go like on a roof somewhere and put people on wires and have them like fly for real, but it comes down to like safety and time and all that stuff. So that ended up being blue screen. So then when we do blue screen on the show, I'm always worried that it's going to feel like a blue screen shoot. So I'm always shaking the camera or trying to cut away from it very quick. I'm very stingy with my blue screen work on the show. So that was a big challenge, like figuring out that whole ending with all the CG and the blue screen.
And I'm curious, what's something that the visual effects team is responsible for on The Boys that viewers at home may not realize? Like obviously the lasers we know, the flying we know, but is there something subtle you do that would surprise people?
I mean, there's so many jokes that are forming in my head right now for the team, other than just be awesome on set. And I mean, there's probably, for the amount of visible visual effects in the show, there's probably an equal, if not more so, amount of invisible visual effects in the show. You're shooting in Toronto, so anytime you're outdoors in the city, you're changing signs in the background. You're often changing the spelling of things because words like center and defense are spelled differently in Canada. Just like little things like that. You're oftentimes, you know, even if a phone screen was shot for real, you're changing it for story. there's like a million things like that come up. A great example, actually, in that end fight with Homelander, I'll give you one that no one would catch in a million years. There's one shot of Homelander flying backwards from one room into the other after he gets pushed or hit by Queen Maeve, right? And it takes him into the next room. For editorial purposes, we had to flop that shot. We had to mirror that shot. The problem is there's a bunch of monitors behind them, so now they're all backwards, and his lapel is directional on his suit. So we had to digitally change his chest, and we had to change all the monitors in that one shot just to flip a shot. But no one's going to know. It's not like a visible visual effect, right?
Now I bet people are going to go back and watch that scene and be like, oh, look.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious, do you have a favorite soup on The Boys? Mine is Black Noir. If I was a teenager, I would totally have an action figure of him in my bedroom.
I have, so first off, you're putting me in a horrible situation because I'm friends with all of the cast and I love them all wonderfully. And from a performance and talent standpoint, I think they all do awesome jobs. And what's great about the show is it's a character-driven show and everyone has their moment. For whatever reason, my favorite scene, it's not visual effects related, it's not a soup, my favorite performance scene in the whole show so far is MM and Annie, I think season 2, at the donut shop, just talking. And there's something about MM's character when he gets very personal and talks about life that just really connects with me as a person. It's someone, I guess, trying to find themselves a little bit through the journey of the show in a similar way to me. So I just always connect with his character. I don't know why. But yeah, there's so many other scenes though. I mean, there's so many amazing moments. I love it all.
And on a complete side note, I see that you worked on The Office a while back.
Oh my God.
Very different than The Boys.
I would have been a visual effects artist working at a facility where a lot of shows were coming my way. And I was doing, again, like invisible, like Office isn't known for its, visual effects work. So it would have been like fixing a background or some poster that didn't clear or something like that. I have very, very minimal involvement with The Office to the point that I honestly could tell you I don't actually remember working on The Office.
I was going to ask, tell us something fans may remember from your work, but we could go ahead and skip that one.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. I remember, if you want a fun one from back in the day, I remember I was a visual effects artist and I worked on Always Sunny in Philadelphia for a hot minute, again, doing kind of fix-it stuff. And there was a scene that I think is banned from ever being aired again because it's too offensive. It was a take on Lethal Weapon, like they did their own Lethal Weapon movie. And Danny DeVito was dressed as a Native American screwing this lady, and you could just see like everything. And they were like, what do we do? What do we do? I mean, he wasn't actually doing it, but you saw like the weird, like contraption. They call them merkins and cock socks and things like that. So I ended up compositing a giant candle like right in front of them. And that was the solution. So I don't know why I always think of that shot. It was such a wonderful time.
I love it. Well, final questions. Are you able to tease anything about the 4th season of The Boys? Like no big spoilers, just maybe like an overall.
It's coming.
Yes, it is.
It has been filmed. No, I think I want to keep this one a surprise for everyone. I'm very excited, though. I'll say that.
Well, we are excited as well, and best of luck at the Emmys this year. I'll see you backstage with a trophy in your hand.
Awesome. That would be great. That would be great. Thank you so much.